That's why I'm asking. I had that coming. Trying to start good. Terrific. I think so. Council gets sick of this. Yeah, I know. See, even the mayor. Nice for showing up, Walter. Nice of you to show up. Bob Smith is my name.
Me too.
Mr. Smith, how are you? Bob will be out of picture. Collecting. All upset. All
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen, remove your hats, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, can I have a motion to appoint Michelle Howell as our clerk pro tem by Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Rhodes? Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. If you notice, we have Michelle filling in for us because Lori Villers has resigned and taken a position somewhere else. So that happened since our last council meeting. And, we wish her well in her new position. And we thank Michelle for filling in until we can get a new clerk. Call the roll, please.
Rhodes? Spinks? Cochee?
Here.
Mezak? Here. Janutus?
Here.
Fluharty?
Here.
Saunders?
Here. And can I have a motion excusing Councilwoman Rhodes for tonight by Mezak, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak? Yes. Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Council, you have the minutes of the work session of June 3rd, 2019. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance by Mezak, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak? Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. And you have the minutes of the regular meeting of June 3rd, 2019. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance by Janutus, second by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak? Abstain. Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. And you have the minutes of the special work session of June 10th, 2019. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance by Mezak, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak? Yes. Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Abstain. And tonight, we have a presentation for our fire department. And I could have the chief and the assistant chief join me up here. Those that come here regular know this is one of my favorite things to do is give proclamations and certificates to people for achievements that they've done. And this one's especially gratifying because of my relationship with the fire department. And just recently, our fire department has gone through a whole process to get our city's insurance rating down to a number 2, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot to most of us here, but it is very significant. Number 1, it affects our fire insurance, and especially for businesses, it lowers the cost of it. So that's good for any time. So what they accomplished affects the whole city. And not only that, but to get to a level 2 is amazing. There's 4,000 some fire departments. Only 4% of them have reached a level 2, which is phenomenal. And it's not just these 2 guys that headed it up to get it. It involves the whole department and some of the other departments. And I'm going to ask Chief Nagy to explain on that a little bit more.
You've basically taken my whole speech already.
Just so you know, this is Fire Chief Dave Nagy and Assistant Chief Sean Solar, who head up our department. And you know, Council is very proud of all our safety forces and all our workers. Service department, police, fire. So we have people in the rec step up and do a great job day in and day out. And it's just a pleasure to be able to single out a department for what they've done. Because I'll let the chief tell you what's entailed. There's a lot of work involved with that. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Mayor said, you know, this is a big deal to a small extent for residents, but to a bigger extent, and you know, seeing the news lately with Azalea coming in to start manufacturing. You know, their insurance over what a homeowner pays is, you know, astronomical. And a jump like this from any number, you know, be it 3 to 2 or 4 down to 3, is significant, like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars it can save businesses and hopefully attract businesses in. First and foremost, you know, this starts at the street level with the guys. You know, it's what they do every day, from the training to the quickness in which they get out the door, the way that they maintain the equipment. That all goes into it. It's all record keeping, and all those hours are logged, and that is all evaluated. Like the mayor said as well, as it's a fire department evaluation, but it's a team effort. The service department, specifically the water department, water supply is a huge part of this evaluation, and the formulas they use. So, you know, without the water department maintaining what they have, we would not be in as good a shape as we are. Dispatch center. Dispatch, you know, getting departments out the door is another huge factor in the evaluation. And I know years ago, when we decided to make the change to this dispatch center, it was the support back here that allowed us to do that. But that change, when you put the numbers from the last time to this time together, that was a significant change. So that saved ultimately businesses money by going out on a limb and making that change. Equipment as well. And again, this is where we have an in-house mechanic, but we also have a great group of mechanics down at the garage. And the way that they maintain our vehicles, it factors into it. And again, when it's time for vehicle purchases, you know, these people up here that make those tough decisions to spend that money, that's a big part of it, to have, you know, up-to-date and good fleets, and as well as our partners. You know, let's face it, I know we've talked about it before, no fire department standalone has enough people to put that many people on the streets or on the fire scene to, number one, operate safely, to provide a service to those we serve, but just the agreement between communities to have the numbers so that when we come in and get evaluated and they say, well, how many people do you put within X number of minutes? And we can have those numbers because we have those relationships with our neighbors, and they help us out just like we help them out. So I'm very proud for our department. I'm always very proud for our people, but I'd also like to extend thanks to a lot of service department people in here tonight. Thank you. And those of us up here. I know my boss preaches all the time, and I'm a firm believer, the assistant chief and I, in teamwork. And a rating like this is just a good example of the teamwork that we have within the city. to hopefully benefit citizens and businesses who are either here or looking to come. So, thank you.
Awesome.
I'm not going to read this because it says all the same thing. But this is for the whole department. Like you say, everybody's involved. You didn't mention the most important part, fire prevention.
And that does go into it, fire prevention, public education. I apologize.
Just
I'll
'cause I
have
had
to buy him a beer now. I'll have to buy him a beer.
So anyway, thank you guys. Thank all the guys over there.
And I am going to correct Mayor Coachy real quick because it just puffs up what this team's been able to do a little bit more. It's actually 42,000 fire departments as opposed to 4,200. So that's, that's top 5% of 42,000 departments. So that's, again, for the team, that's what makes it a little
We
bit
can
better.
add a zero to that. That's even more.
It already was in there. Maybe you should just warm your glasses when you're reading
I stand corrected. Yeah, no, I read it wrong. 42,000, that's even more significant.
Yeah.
Wow. Great job by all and all this help they had around. Okay, get on to old business. Ordinance number 9683-19. Yes, we did.
Ordinance number 968319, rezoning property described in here from B3 to MU classification located at Northfield and Rockside Roads, and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Motion for third and final by Mezak, second by Saunders. Mike, you want to address this? And the next two, A, B, and C, we'll speak on the three of those.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. In essence, what we're doing is, for those of you that have been here the last couple meetings, we are replacing Chapter B3 and repealing that ordinance, and that's basically the zoning for the Meadowbrook Shopping Center. It was previously zoned retail, B3. One of these ordinances are to repeal that. About a year ago, we engaged with a third-party planner who works with cities, Beechwood, other communities, and they did a land analysis for that. It's 90 acres, all the way from Bartlett and Rockside, all the way to the former TJ Maxx site. And they put together a thorough analysis for the administration and council to review. And simultaneously, they provided recommendations for rezoning, best uses, and what would be the best fit for that area moving forward. We retained a outside attorney to guide us through the process, and ultimately what we did was we developed a mixed-use zoning district. And that's what this is. It includes all of the different parcels in there. We're rezoning all of that to mixed use, except two parcels. And the two parcels that we are rezoning to, let me correct, to an R3 are the two parcels where there are the apartment buildings that are already along Rockside Road, where they've never been rezoned in the first place, and we're basically, those two parcels will be zoned R3 multifamily to fit what they're used for now. Everything else is going to be mixed use. What that does, it ranges from office, light manufacturing, new car sales, not used, and a lot of other options. It basically gives the city and city council and planning commission, authority to really control what goes in there. Obviously, our goal is to bring business there. I can say that there are a few businesses have already moved in. There is a tentative deal on the entire Walmart that's based on this rezoning, and there is interested parties in the 12 vacant acres at Bartlett and Rockside. So this is, as far as development, is imperative to move forward with it. I think it'd be very good for the city. The question came up in work session. We did include the YMCA in this. At the time, the Y was, the city was working to acquire it through a tax foreclosure at no cost to the city. We did. Obviously, we're going to engage. We're not going to keep the Y. It's, to be quite honest, it's in pretty poor condition. But there's already interested parties looking to purchase that, more so for the land than the building. And we included that parcel in this, so it'll all be zoned mixed use. So that kind of covered all three.
Let me just add, again, it's based upon an expert's recommendation, input from all the property owners up there. There's numerous reasons which are spelled out in the ordinance, and, including, spurring economic development, and the planning commission's recommended this as well. So we went through the formal process, and the planning commission also recommended that we adopt this ordinance as well as our expert and all the adjoining property owners, and including Mr. Gudjoe, actually. So everything, everyone's on the same page, and we hope this helps the area.
Thank you. And already people are calling up wanting to know about this just because of these zoning changes. So as you know already, the Mazda's broke ground up there. They're going to be building their new dealership. We had the Bureau of Motor Vehicles move in. Kidney dialysis place is going to be moving in. The State License Bureau is going to be moving in. So things are finally happening up at that intersection of Northfield and Columbus, and we suspect there's going to be a lot more changes as we go along. And yes, Mr. Simon has said he's still going to open his grocery store there. He has told me that numerous times, so we're holding to that. Clerk, call the roll, please. Yes, we did.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Ordinance number 9684-19.
An ordinance rezoning certain property located at Bartlett and Rockside Roads from the B3 Shopping Center District to R3 1 to 6 Family Residence Districts and MU Use District. This pertains to, there's four parcels right at Bartlett and Rockside that we're treating a little differently because they have they have the single level apartments there now, so we have to zone it to what they're using it for now, which was never done in the past, so we're correcting that now.
We have a motion for suspension. Saunders, second by Mezek. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. And Mike already gave the explanation. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Ordinance number 9685-19.
This is an ordinance repealing and replacing the existing Chapter 1939, which is entitled B3 Shopping Center Districts, with a new Chapter 1939 entitled MU Mixed Use Districts of the ordinances of the City of Bedford. And again, that's to expand. It's no longer a B3 Shopping Center District because retail is pretty much dead these days. So we're making a mixed use to allow different uses to help rejuvenate the area.
Thank you. Motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Motion for third and final by Mezek, second by Saunders. We had the explanation. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes. Ordinance number 9698-19.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Senior Transportation Connection for additional transportation services to residents and declaring an emergency.
We have a motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Mezek. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
No.
That was for suspension,
For
Don?
suspension.
Oh, that was suspension. I meant yes for suspension. Sorry.
Oh, yes, yes, it is. Yes, suspension.
A motion for third and final. Spinks, second by Fluharty. Mike?
This is a contract regarding, as the ordinance reads, Senior Transportation Connection, which is a company that provides transportation for seniors 60 and over. What we're looking to do is obviously not cut any services. What we're looking to do is try to expand them and offer seniors more options to utilize a van service. There's nothing changing as far as utilization for those that are doing it now. Be it dialysis or anyone else, it'll continue to be $1 each way transportation. And we're also going to work to establish multiple group trips. One being Walmart's group trip, which is outside our radius now. One being group trips to Giant Eagle on Wednesdays, so seniors can utilize the senior discount, which we're unable to perform that now. What we want to do is allow more individuals in the community an opportunity to utilize that transportation service.
Comment? Aaron?
This is only a 6-month contract, correct?
Correct.
So after
At
6
this
months,
point.
we can re-review it and go from there. My concerns are still the vehicles. Thank you.
It also can be terminated by either party after 90 days. Or with the 90 days notice, not after 90 days, but with 90 days notice at any time, not.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
No.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Reports, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. Friendly reminder that the parade is this Thursday for July 4th. Starts at 10 a.m. on Columbus. I do want to mention there were some calls that came in and request Councilman Janutus indicated trees. Our arborist has been going through town, I believe, included in the memo this past week, indicating that next will be over on High Street to look at some of those dead trees and trimming. So they are making their way through. Also mentioned in work session, we're continuing to work with the county regarding the sewer maintenance. They were recently out. If you recall last year, we maintained one side of Gould. Gould has 2 sewers. They came back out this year. They did the opposite side. What we're waiting to do is City Council budgeted $10,000 annually this year, which was the first time. It's a new program where we work with the county and they come out with their equipment. They clean and maintain lines. We did Gould last year. They did the other half this year. Once we get that bill and we find out what is left out of what is budgeted for this year, we'll then continue to move along. And most likely, I believe we said it would be Eldred is the next street. So we'll look at those areas where there's high roots, where the sewers are affected, and we'll continue to work with the county on that.
Thank you.
I did,
Go
a
ahead.
couple more things. Recently we worked with the Gardner, which came in and they did an energy audit for all of our municipal buildings, City Hall, service, recreation, and they put together a list of items that we can make regarding improvements, if it's lighting, if it's boilers, whatever it is that could use improvement where we can get a payback in a short period of time. The reason we did that is we received about $100,000 in grant funding through NOPEC to pay for some of these improvements, and obviously we didn't want to just pretend to be the experts and figure out what can be done. We brought them in, they did that audit, and we can go ahead and make those improvements. I shared that with council and the department heads, and most likely we'll be coming back to council in September for some legislation as far as moving forward with that project. I had indicated that YMCA is under the city's control right now. It's not our intent to continue to utilize the Y. Most likely we will sell it. In the meantime, this week, we are going to utilize the facility for some canine training with a group of the canine units throughout the area. And lastly, demolitions. If you recall, the city received about $400 and some thousand in grant funding for various demolitions. Part of that is we sign off that the land bank will handle those demos. The good news is they take care of it, and we don't have to go out and bid each project. Bad part is we're kind of at the mercy of their timeline. I will say we did sign off on. No, that's okay.
I thought it was important for them. To the bones, easy pop top, your nose on my phone. Sorry, my nose.
No, that's all right. It's good music.
We had a little laugh.
The couple of the properties that we already signed off, notice to proceed. 295 Columbus we're waiting for to come down. Obviously 34 Union goes down. 401 West Glendale, they're going to be demolishing. 500 Columbus is going to be demolished. There's an old garage that sits on 83 Henry. That's going to be coming down, as well as 90 West Grace. So all those properties we received funding for, they're going to tear that down. The land bank will. And we've signed it. The notice to proceed. We're just kind of at the mercy. I will say there's another property that we received one quote on that we're working to get a second, and that's 188 Greencroft. That property is not included in this list, but it needs to come down. The owner's aware of that. John's worked closely with them. We will demolish that property and utilize leftover funds through the NSP grant, and then obviously assess it. He's walked away. The property's in deplorable condition, and we want to get that cleared up. So that'll be hopefully in the coming weeks. And as Chief Nagy mentioned, there was a good article for those of you that in Cranes this week that came out today. The online edition was over the weekend regarding Zelia and their plans to move drug production and manufacturing back to Bedford. That's taking place. A lot of what was mentioned in there was some things that we've already spoke about, including their plans to bring the bag system, which is going to be moving here. All of that is, I shouldn't say moving here, being established here. The big thing is about manufacturing and all that happening is it's going to be jobs. It's going to be more jobs. And combined with what's happening in Meadowbrook, I think it's a lot of good things happening. End of report.
Thank you. Mr. Lauder.
I'll just briefly wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Hello to some people I don't see. There's more people than I usually see up here. Some people I haven't seen in a while. Hope everything's going all right. Other than that, end of report.
Thank you. Mr. Finance Director.
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the Fire Department, Chief Nagy. That was a great accomplishment. I remember writing about where they were ISO rated 4 when I first came on board, down to 2. That's a huge improvement. So kudos to them. That was great that they were able to achieve that. It does help all the businesses in town, that's for sure. Tax Department, we did send out a lot of non-filer letters, so if you received one, please contact our department so that we can get that all cleared up, make sure we have your returns, and move on from there. And again, happy 4th of July. Look forward to seeing everybody at the parade. End of my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Spinks.
Good evening. Happy early 4th to everyone. You can always tell when there's something on the agenda that's important to people. I just want to start off by saying this job sometimes becomes difficult. I know I can speak for myself is when we have things like what's on the issue tonight on old businesses, sometimes we have to make difficult decisions up here. But I know when I vote thinking of all of the residents, how it's going to affect lives of all people, all the residents, not myself, which I am a resident. I'm a taxpayer. And I have been working with seniors for 42 years, so that's a subject that's very, very dear to my heart. Mary Berg can vouch. I'm at every senior meeting and she worries about me when I'm not there. That's what like I said, I've done for a living. I also work with children. That's the hub of our city. I got personal phone calls on this and was threatened for someone to run against me if I voted no. I took that very personal. It was just, like I said, this was a hard decision, but it's what's the best for the residents, what's the best for our seniors, and to provide more services where it'll be so great for, for them to be able, for residents, for seniors to have more choices to be able to go places after 5 o'clock or on weekends. So when I vote for what's the best for all of the residents. So with that, end of our report.
Thank you. Mrs. Mezek.
Thank you. First off, I'm sorry about the interruption with my cell phone. I wasn't paying attention, and of course somebody had to bring it to my attention, the caller. I want to say thank you, and I want to also say, I want to apologize for missing so many meetings since 2017 because I didn't control our destiny, my husband and myself's health position. I wanted to say thank you to those from Ward 4 and those that had called me when I first got hurt on Mother's Day weekend and offered me food, services, care, going anywhere and everything. I'd love to see all these people here tonight from my ward and the rest of the city because you know what? We're all out there for caring for one another. And this is what I do. This is what I like to do. Be with the people that care for each other. And here I am. And I hope to be back here for a long time. In the near future, health going my way. I did want to clear something up. I did not have back surgery. I did not become crippled. I had former pelvic fractures from a car accident when I was a young person. Unfortunately, being raised very strictly in that, when spring comes along, the women always have to spring clean the house. So I made an appointment for my rug to get cleaned. And I'm looking out my window, and I said, nope, it's not going to work. So I went and cleaned the first window. Came out really good in the traffic, because when they sold us these windows, they said, oh, you can take your windows out, clean them, and put them back in. Unfortunately, that didn't happen with the left side of the window. The window went right past me, and I went right down on my lower body. Therefore, I couldn't move for 10 days. So the wonderful fire department we have and dispatch sent the squad down, and they took care of me very well. And I wound up in rehab for a while. And it's hard to say you can't teach somebody an old trick or do something for another person. I have 3 wonderful children that managed to take over my house for 15 days without me. And the general gave orders from the hospital bed and rehab. Everything ran smooth. And like I said, I did have a lot of caring residents that did call and drop by the house, and I want to say thanks again. So with that said, I have to say to the mayor, I want to thank you for letting me do proclamations because I like doing them too. Matter of fact, I had one for you because you weren't there. I think you saw it because you signed it. I have a resident at Bayberry Lane. She's been there since that development was built 35 years ago. She celebrated her 100th birthday on the 23rd of June. Her name is Lottie Adler. If I would have known that I was going to be here for sure tonight, I would have had her come in person because she's, you talk about a feisty person and a go-getter. She's got me beat, and I'm not really old yet. But on the other notes, I did want to say that I want to wish you best wishes. And there was one remark that I had on the proclamation because it was told to me. She worked for the county auditor's department downtown. And in her tenure there, they had a saying, Lottie's been here longer than most of our auditors have been. So that shows you how dedicated she was to her job. Then we have another thing I wanted to say. I got a chance to go through my ward several times since my little mishap. And everybody throughout the city, their yards are all looking great. And I think our city kind of shines over a lot of people because they all like coming to Bedford to see everything we have to offer to them. I've handed out schedules for our events and things like that. And like I said, I love to talk to people, love to be with people. And tonight is very special to me because I see a lot of people I haven't seen for a long time or I have seen. And I still like to see it, regardless of when it is. And lastly, I want to say, if anybody, and this is my pet peeve, another one, wants to get a hold of it, animal control for our city, call now and make your appointment because he's going to tell you it's going to be a couple days because they're limited on their traps. Unfortunately, with my deer, Mr. Bender will love this one, I have a groundhog now that made residence at my home. So now we're trying to get this guy. And when he delivered the cage, he said, I already have it ready to go to get him. Hasn't shown up since the cage has been there. Have a good week. I missed you guys. I'm glad you're all here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Janutus.
Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate the fire department on a rare accomplishment. One of our main jobs, I think, as city council people is to really evaluate the operations of the city and to assess the best use of our taxpayers' money and whatnot, and be an oversight of the city operations on behalf of the residents. And I think very highly of our fire department, and this is a good proof that our fire department is top-notch, so congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Fluharty.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to also congratulate the fire department. We're pretty lucky to have these guys here. They're one of the best crew around this whole state, believe me. I want to also thank Mike and Service Department for patching up Northfield Road. Finally, we got some of it done up there, plus the sinkhole that was across from Sunoco is all done, so you can walk down the road now without your wheels going up and down all through the bumps. Paul is glad to have you back. I know you've been out a while. Since you got groundhog now, when's National Groundhog Day?
I have to look it up on the phone.
Oh, okay. Because you always let us know when the squirrels are supposed to be around, so I
Yes,
check that out.
exactly, yeah.
And also, beware, of course, it's fireworks season. Everybody, please be careful. And I know we got a lot of people out there shooting them off already, but just call the police department. It's the easiest way to try to calm them down. They got a hard job because as the years go on, these 4th of Julys are getting worse. It's as simple as that. It's a shame because someday someone's going to get hurt or somebody's house is going to catch on fire because all these extra big fireworks that are flying around this town anymore. It's terrible. And so call the police department. That's not the only thing you can do. And also, I just want to wish everybody happy 4th and see you at the parade. Report.
Thank you. Mr. Saunders.
All right. I got a list here. First thing on Broadway, the truck carriers for the car dealers. The other day there were 5 of them parked on Broadway. 2 of them were on the curve. That's a hazard. We all the way from Harrison all the way down to Rockside. They, especially the 2 that were parked on the curve, those are blind curves. Somebody coming around them is going to slam one of them one of these days. They shouldn't be doing that during the day, especially when there's a lot of traffic. They're getting worse and more blatant. You know, 1 on the street or something is something, but when you start getting 3 or 4 of them at a time parked on the streets, they're becoming a problem. So we need to inform the car dealers that they need to, since we have an ordinance prohibiting them in certain dealerships. So let's see if we can get somebody out there to at least advise them to not do it, all of them at the one time. And I'm surprised Vic hasn't noticed it, but the catch basin that's just as you're heading south on Northfield Road by the recycle center, that catch basin's collapsing. There's a big hole there right now too, so we need to get our service department onto that catch basin because before it just disappears. It's one of those things that may get missed during other times, but our service department does one hell of a job in what they've been doing. In fact, the end of Logan, they spent over a week trying to they did reconnect a sanitary sewer connection through what is technically private property, which brings me to another thing is that 245 Logan, who's paying for all that work that was done for that massive trench that they had to dig to get to the sanitary, because Logan actually ends at the end of the curb, not where the actual road appears to end. I would hope that the property owner is sharing in some of that cost, because that hole was deep and for quite a long distance too. So that's all private property, actually owned by the one house on the end of Logan. So even though it appears to be street, that's technically private drive. We do plow our snow all the way up and through there at times too, but Logan does end before the last two houses. So it's one of those areas that is tricky when it comes to cost too when something happens. So, and I will tell the audience here that keep an eye on your homeowner's policy. You should be getting a reduction in your fire protection. If not, call your insurance agent because they may not be aware of the fact that our rating went down. So that should help everybody, especially the seniors who are on fixed incomes. It should give you a few extra bucks in your policy. I don't know if you pay it yearly or monthly or however, but it should help in that nature also. It's good to see that some of our houses are going to start, the really problem ones, moving along into getting rid of them, and hopefully those lots, some of them will get rehabilitated into new structures, because we don't have that many new homes going up at this end. As far as the 4th of July fireworks, if you haven't seen on the news, there is a big recall on a lot of the fireworks. They've been loaded improperly on some of them. And it took a boy's hand off down, I think it was in the Cincinnati area, because it was supposed to be a little firework and it wasn't. So they're recalling fireworks. So please be careful on the 4th. You shouldn't be setting off fireworks anyway, but it's one of those things that people may be unaware of the fact that they haven't been watching the news. And finally, I want to thank the fire department especially, and any friends of my mother who passed away this past month, a few weeks ago. It was quite unexpected. And I want to thank everybody who showed care and concern during this time period. My family wishes everybody, or thanks everybody for their concern during this time period. We now have to deal with my father, who was the one that was expected to go. Unfortunately, my mother went instead, so like I said, it was quite unexpected. The fire department did everything they could to try to revive her, but it was one of those cases where nothing could be done. Now, she was a big proponent on deer calling, and ironically, the day of the funeral, we're going down Broadway, and deer shot in front of the hearse, and the hearse almost hit him. So, it's one of those things, the deer had their last say to her. It's funny in a way when you think about it, but they did shoot right across. Unbelievable how that it was almost like it's almost like they timed it. So, but it's one of those tragic things. The garden club's gonna miss her for sure because she was their encyclopedia. If you had a gardening question, she had an answer. You had a gardening plant you didn't know, she not only knew the plant name, but usually the Latin origin where it came from. So, the garden club's definitely going to miss her. So, and hope to see all of you on the 4th of July. The parade starts at the library basically and goes down Columbus all the way to Bedford Heights. Well, it disbands basically at the fire station, but everybody does go to the rec center there in Bedford Heights. A good chunk of the parade goes through my ward on Columbus Road in Ward 6. So hope to see everybody there. There's right now a 50% chance of scattered showers. I'm hoping they're all in the afternoon, so the parade goes off without a hitch, but it'll be rain or shine. Some of us may get wet. So have a happy 4th of July and a following weekend. I know some people get off on Friday, so that's a very long weekend. Others have to get a holiday and then go back to work the next day. But our service department, once again, I'm sure will be busy cleaning up the mess after the parade, because unfortunately people just leave their junk on people's tree lawns and don't really seem too concerned that that's all people's yards. So let's hope we can keep it, the litter especially, down to a minimum. So happy 4th, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I only have one thing to add to everybody said here. We have a distinguished gentleman in the audience that's going to be celebrating his 90th birthday. And I just wanted to say happy birthday, Mr. Dick Bender.
Well, now that you've spoiled the whole party, no, I appreciate that. I've been here 45 years with this Bedford Council and had a part of them for a long time, and I still do, and I think all you folks that are here tonight are in for more fun, because I see the crowd here tonight, and that's more than we've had for a while. But thank you so very much, and my wife and I and my family, we're having an open house on the 6th on Wandle Avenue. If any of you know where that is, or you want to stop over, 1 to 3 o'clock. Stop over and join us. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stan.
Happy birthday. And with that, let's get on to new business. Ordinance number 9699-19.
Declaring the property and structure located at 429 Center Road a nuisance and condemning the property, ordering action, and declaring an emergency.
And a motion for suspension by Mezak, second by Saunders. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Brick Ranch, located on Center Road. It's been vacant for years, bank owned. We've recently gone over there about a month ago and had to secure it. There was individuals trying to break in. We've done that. Don't believe it's to a state where it should be demolished, but this is the first step to allow John and the other staff members to put some needed pressure on the bank to get them to do something with the property. We've been cutting the grass and assessing it for years as well.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mezak?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9700-19.
Authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal of JD Striping and Service, Inc. for long line long line striping of our streets in the city and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, seconded by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Mezak.
This is similar to what we performed last year, where we contracted out specifically the long lines and the stripings. We received 2 quotes. One was from A&A Safety for roughly $23,500. JD Striping and Service came in at $19,810. This was budgeted for, so we recommend going with.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9701-19.
An ordinance,
A lot of papers there.
an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Company, Inc. for the Union Street water line replacement, being the lowest responsive and responsible bidder and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Mezak. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Fluharty, second by Spinks. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This project, actually, it started earlier in the year. For those of you that remember, we applied for about a $2.2 million grant that was going to cover the water line through the historic district, all the way down Union up towards near St. Mary's. Included in that grant was resurfacing of Broadway, as well as all electrical repairs down in the historic district and new curbs. Unfortunately, we didn't score high enough. Part of that grant, we were putting up $1 million of our own money for water line repairs. We thought it would score well. Unfortunately, it didn't. With that being said, after we looked at the project and looked at what the county was planning in 2020, which is they're planning to come in and repave Union Street. That's what they had indicated to us. It only makes sense to address the water line now. That water line was put in the 30s, I believe. We recently had a break on Friday. So what we did was we scaled back, and even though we didn't get the grant, we're still contributing, putting up actually it came in at about $1.2 million to replace the water line from Broadway down over to roughly St. Mary's. At the same time, Fabrizi's wrapping up, will be into 2020, and the county will come back in and finally pave that roadway. The only other thing that was mentioned in work session is we will be stopping before the bridge and starting up again after, because they're going to be coming in and they're assessing redoing the stone bridge in 2022. So we'll address that section at that time. 2 other bids were Tridmore Corp. came in at $1.397 million, and SET Inc. came in at $1.565 million.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9702-19.
Authorizing the city of Bedford to pay for the cremation expenses of Ben Gray, who is determined to be indigent, and declaring an emergency.
Have a motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Janutus. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Mezak. Mike?
Yes, Mayor. We were contacted by a manager from Cuyahoga County Morgue Operations. Mr. Gray had passed away and was indigent. We actually, about a month ago, had put together a form that needs to get filled out to verify the information. Either it's verified through tax or other measures, just to make sure that there isn't any other relative or a trust or anything of that nature. If it does indeed come back that the individual was indigent, we will pick up those services. In this case, he was And we have an agreement with Johnson Romito Funeral Home to cover those expenses, which we will pick up.
Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9703-19.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Cerna Construction, Inc. for the 2019 sidewalk repair program and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Mezek. Mike again.
As the ordinance reads, this is for this year's sidewalk program. We're going to be going out, identifying various walks that were damaged, lifted, whatnot, regarding trees, tree roots, or if there was a big job or anything else that was the city's responsibility, and we will go ahead and be replacing those. We haven't identified the specific area yet, but once we do that, we'll have letters going out to the residents in the area. We received two different quotes. One, FPL Leggett Concrete came in at roughly $10 per square foot. Cerna Construction came in at $8.15 per square foot. We recommend going with Cerna's.
And I believe if it's section of sidewalk that is the homeowner's responsibility, they can also get in on this same.
There'll be some information going out. For instance, if you had some areas like near your driveway or whatnot that you wanted to replace, if you wanted to replace that, you can do that and piggyback off of this contract and get the same price that we're getting through Cerna. And that information will come out in the letter that you receive when we're in your area. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do the whole city for the amount, but as the years go on, we'll hopefully start catching up a little bit.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9704-19.
Authorizing change order number 1 with Roniak Paving, Inc. for the 2018 street improvement program and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension, Saunders, second by Mezek. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus.
This is the-
roll tonight.
yeah.
Keep going.
This is to close out the 2018 program. The last road that we were working on, or that they were working on, was Powers. There were some issues with the base, as well as catch basin work that needed to be finished. Ultimately, it was over about $4,400. This is the change order for that, and then that program will be closed out.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9705-19.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 9677-19 regarding section 151.08A of the Administrative Code entitled Compensation for Overtime Work of the City of Bedford and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension, Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Mezek. The ordinance is going to remain the same. The only change is we added clerk of council to this. There was some discrepancy on whether they got comp time or not. That this will clear it up, that it's, the clerk will get a 1 hour of comp time for 1 hour work, not 1.5 hours. Just to clarify, it's same as all our other department heads. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Ordinance number 9706-19.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to contract with Naroni and Sons, Inc. for emergency repairs to the wastewater treatment plant to commence the Wood Creek Bank stabilization project and declaring an emergency.
A motion for suspension, Saunders, second by Mezak. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. Mike?
As we've mentioned, there was some significant erosion issues taking place at the Wood Creek, which is, in essence, we had the area surveyed in February. Our engineer was back out, recently surveyed it again. We're losing a tremendous amount of the hillside. Ultimately, trees were coming down. The trees actually created a dam, and the water had shifted and continued to take the hillside. Especially during these heavy storms, there were trees that continued to fall. We were within, I think the last time our engineer was there, we were within about 10 feet from our main trunk line, 30-inch line that brings all of the, you know what, down to the plant. If we did not act and that hillside continued to erode and reached that line would not have been stabilized and in essence could have failed and dumped 2 million gallons of, you know what, into Tinker's Creek every day. So obviously it was an issue. You know, we'll get into the long-term solutions here in the next ordinance. But short-term, we had 2 companies go out. Independence Excavating came in with a quote of about $30,000, and then Aroni and them came in with a quote of about $18,000 to come in and do some emergency work. We did authorize them to start last week to try to get the debris out of the creeks, which they did. They did some temporary shoring up, if you would say, or directing the water. They got done in about 2.5 days, which was much less than what they had thought. And the cost was about $10,000. That money will be able to be reimbursed when we apply for a larger long-term solution, which we plan to do, and we'll get into that in the next ordinance. Ultimately, the charge for that work over the last couple days was about $10,450.
It's a lot better than 18,000. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Resolution number 2536-19.
Authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and enter into a cooperative agreement for emergency repair and construction of the Wood Creek Bank stabilization project between the city of Bedford and the Ohio Water Development Authority and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, second by Spinks. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Mezak, second by Saunders.
This is, I'll start if you want to add, yeah. This is part of the long-term solution. Our goal wasn't to make the temporary repair and kick the can down the road. Obviously, we need to get this corrected now. We initially went for Ohio Department of Public Works, OPWS funds. Unfortunately, they felt that it wasn't an emergency at this time, although we feel that 2 million gallons potentially in the creek is an emergency. We did not get the loan. However, through the OWDA, and Frank will go over the terms, we will be applying for a low-interest loan, which we'll pay back out of our sewer fund to make those repairs. Repairs are somewhere going to be between $700,000 and $800,000 for this one specific area. But we've also identified another area much smaller that needs about $50,000 to $60,000 worth of work to address some hillside erosion as well down near the plant. We want to make those repairs. We want to do that ASAP. So our engineers working with the Army Corps as well as Frank putting together the application. We intend to have that to them by August 1st, and the funds come back very, very quickly. And it's our hope to then bid this out and get moving on it as soon as possible. When I talked about being reimbursed, not only will we be able to utilize the funds for construction, but it'll also include engineering, planning, inspections, as well as any emergency work needed to be done prior. So the $10,000 that we passed previously will be included in the application. Frank, if you want to go over some of the terms.
Pretty much summed that up, but a couple of things though. With the OPWC first applied for, we went for grants first, obviously, if we can get that, great. Also, they have a 0% loan. We had done those in the past. The funds were already committed. They had more applications than they could fill. That seems to be the process nowadays, substantially. It's hard to get money for anything anymore. But OWDA definitely had plenty of funding for us, and it does specialize in this area. So after talking with them, their rates usually run, they'll vary every month, so we want to get on that board right away before rates change. Right now, the rate's running at 2.91% for a 20-year loan that we would take out. However, with our ability to, at this point of working with them in the past, they'll drop 0.5% for us. And for the fact that we have an emergency situation, that's especially with them, drop another 0.5%. So we're going to be looking at 1.91 for 20 years, substantially less than we've done in the past. And we've actually had these loans at 4.8 many years ago, so it has definitely come down. We want to take advantage of it. We met even with our financial advisors, yes, we even have those beyond me who we work with, and they looked at it and said, you're not going to beat that. So definitely go into that, try to get that funding. And they've been very, very cordial to us to work with us on the application, get the right paperwork together. We've already completed more than half of the application already in a couple days. So we plan on having this pretty much finished up probably by next week, that quickly. So we'll be on their agenda for the new funding in August. They'll already have analyzed our financial situation. I had to do a 30-year projection as to what our finances will look like in the wastewater fund and go from there. So we've already completed all that and we're ready to go.
About how much we're at? 900 is what
right now we're at 900. We have to see how that program works is, of course, we'll go by the bidding process. Once the bidding process determines where you're at, then it becomes a situation of what the actual costs are. And when it's finalized, all the engineering, construction costs, these costs we talked about today, and engineering to build up to that will be included in that. And based on the disbursements of the loan program, will determine how much we will have to pay. Plus, there's an administrative fee that they'll charge, and then based on that, we will have our final numbers and our amortization schedule for debt for the next 20 years. Much less expensive to go this route than actually with bonds, so that was the best alternative.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Resolution number 2537-19.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works for unusual sewer projects, declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension. Spinks, seconded by Fluharty. Call the roll.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Mezek. Mike?
This is a standard agreement that the county has requested we enter into, being that we're going to be utilizing them. We used them last year during the sewer maintenance on Gould, as well as our plans to continue to use them this year and in the future.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochee?
Yes.
Mizek?
Yes.
Janutus?
Yes.
Fluharty?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Now we come to that portion of meeting for the hearing of citizens. If you wish to speak, please come forward, state your name, your address, and your comment.
My name is Marquise Brown. My address is 3608 West 114th Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44111. Don't be alarmed, it's Cleveland. I represent the city workers that are here. I am pleased to speak to you this evening. I represent, like I said before, the nearly 50 American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, also known as AFSCME here at the city, and almost the 40,000 workers that are here in Ohio. The city of Bedford and AFSCME has a nearly 40-year history of collectively bargaining and working together to resolve issues and deliver the highest quality of service to the residents. Tonight, you voted to enter into a contract with Senior Transportation Connection, and by doing so will cause a layoff of a 7-year city employee who has been 3 years a senior van driver. Our members are strongly opposed to any effort to subcontract the work of our bargaining unit, especially in this instance where we have a significant harm to a city employee and his family. And more importantly, the city has not asserted the claim or demonstrated that subcontracting is necessary for lack of funds or any serious financial situation, or this will actually save the city any money. Traditionally, the public sector has provided greater opportunities for women and minorities. Contracting out city services diminishes the social and economic opportunities for members of these demographics. And right here in the city of Bedford, a city that's about 54% African American, this ordinance would negatively impact the only African American we have in our bargaining unit and force him to scramble and search for a new job with a newborn baby. While we can't stop the city from subcontracting the senior van service, the Senior Transportation Connection, we can only hope the city will not turn their back on this employee that many of you, including his supervisors, have said that a good, hardworking employee. We strongly encourage you to help find this displaced worker a full-time opportunity in the city, and we'll be happy to work with you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Dome, 1222 Broadway. I have a couple questions on this issue also. My first question is, I know that you said that this will be for the seniors 60 years and older. What about the people we serve now that have health issues that are not 60 and older?
They'll still be taken care of.
They will be taken care of. Okay. My next question is, why the rush on the contract when the city is paying $40,000 for this contract when you already had a contract with our senior van driver now in our union contract? Why the rush? Why couldn't we wait at least till the end of the year or the end of our contract?
Well, I don't think there was a rush. We're just, it's our duty and responsibility to look for better situations for our residents when they come around, and that's what we did.
Okay, I mean, has it been looked into, maybe possible? I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to mention, to be quite honest, we started looking at numbers and stats and how many people utilize the van, I would say late last fall, internally. When we started having conversations, and I know in the past they've had some conversations with STC, we met with them, I think, right after the beginning of the year, exploring the idea, looked at the numbers, looked at what the numbers are that we spend, and based on the amount of population and how many people utilize the van, as some of those things that I mentioned at the last 2 meetings ago, actually. So it wasn't that we just came up and got this contract in May and threw it in front of council. It was probably since last fall that I had looked into it with Aaron and with Mike. Also looked at what type of grant funding could be out there to free up money for other different things that we could do. We looked at that. I would say, to be honest with you, I could give you an exact date, but I think it was since last fall when we really started looking into it. I don't know if there was ever is there ever a best time? I guess,
sure.
One would think, do it now, do it budget time,
Well, I guess again, I go back to that question, couldn't it have waited at least till, the end of this contract? I mean, you're taking $40,000 and you're giving it to the senior connection, and I mean, that could have helped our driver at least for a few more months. That's all I'm saying. Something to think about maybe. And I guess one of my questions is the city going to try to take on our employee, Armand, who, I don't know if anybody knows, but I think Armand has the most overtime hours in the city. You know, he's, you know, to me, he's an asset to this community. And so these are things that, you know, I guess I'd like everybody to think about. I guess my last question is, this is the third reading, so will this most likely go forward? That's my question.
Most likely, yes. Obviously, there's a contract, and that's a standard contract. Each community, if you've seen it, I can give you a printout of what communities utilize these services or this company. Each one kind of negotiates for each community. Okay, basically you negotiate and make your own parameters. For instance, you know, I had taken some questions that some people had seen. Why seen Solon? Why it's $4 one way or $8 round trip? Well, that's what Solon negotiated. They know that our intention is not to change a thing. It's $1 each way. The only couple of the things that we are going to do that would be different than ours is, for instance, one, establish a group trip to Walmart out in Macedonia. We don't do that now. It's outside of our radius.
Well, we do that.
So we go to Mark's. We haven't gone, as far as group trips, we haven't established group trips for that location.
Well, we have. So, you know, so, I would just like everybody, you know, and like, you know, you may think this is personal. Well, I think it's personal for everybody sitting here, not just me, but for all the taxpayers here in Cleveland, for the seniors who are concerned about, you know, this year. And especially Armand, who, like I said, who's an asset to the city. I would hope that, you know, council and yourself would really look into helping this gentleman stay with the city of Bedford. Thank you.
And that has been a focus of this conversation the whole time we're discussing it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Has been.
I'm Anne Marie Balkovic. I live at 154 Paul Street. I've talked with our councilman several times. We have issues on Paul Street with speeders, people not stopping at the stop signs. I've talked to several officers. I get, oh, we only have to come up here once a day. And that's about all you see a police car in our neighborhood, once a day. We've got issues down at Interstate Playground. Late at night, we need officers down there. These kids are 10, 12, 14. They're out after 11, 12 o'clock at night. Somebody's gonna get hurt. I've had cars in my yard because we're right at the bend. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody wants to listen. Mr. Fluharty listens, but evidently nobody else does. We're not getting anything done. When I talk to a police officer and I say, if you're here between 2:30 and 4, you'll see exactly what I mean. Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there. Never there. Park in my yard, I don't care. But we have issues. This is an ongoing thing. Ms. Salata took care of it, tried 2 years ago. It's 10 times worse now. But you're gonna end up with a child or an elderly person hurt. And we've got people out there riding older gentleman in his 80s driving a little, what do you call it? Handicap thing. Scooter with his grandson. He's gonna get hurt. And nobody seems to care. You stop an officer and they just keep on going. We'll take care of it later. So something needs to get done there, or you're going to have an issue.
We will get a special.
And like I said, I'm told we'll be there, and nobody is ever there. Once a day in that area for an officer to go down the street. But yet I got a neighbor complaining because I got blades of grass in his driveway and I get 2 officers come to my house. That's kind of stupid. Honestly. So we need to do something. We'd appreciate it on our street.
Thank you. We'll have the city manager talk with the chief.
Good evening, everyone. My name's David Svilik. I've been Bedford resident since 1977, homeowner since 81. I live on 233 Paul Street, and she speaks the truth over there. We don't have enough police presence up there, and it's starting to get out of hand. It seems like the young juveniles do not know what a sidewalk is for. And also the speeding cars that do go up and down Paul Street. Yesterday, my wife woke me up because we sit across from each other. She looks out the window and I look at her. I don't know why we sit that way. She observed the car flying that would be north on Paul Street. So I went outside because Mr. Fluharty knows where I sit out on my front patio. I got a front patio in front of my house, so I've been sitting out there. And the same vehicle came back the other way, no lights. I mean, flying. He had to be doing 45 at least. If the police would come once in a while at different times, the juveniles and the speeders would think twice what they're doing. You know, I'm not saying they have to camp out up there, the police, but if they come at different times and also go up and down the side street, not just take Paul Street all the way up, or Northfield, or Broadway. Because every evening, about 9:45, Mr. Fluharty knows what starts happening. Last Monday, I was listening to the scanner, and on First Street over at Always Towing, there was a call. They came in and they were blowing off fireworks. Yes, they were. Because I could see them in my backyard. I could see First Street on my right and John Street on my left. So I got a pretty good display almost every evening. You know, what I'm concerned about is the type of fireworks they're shooting off. These are not Class C fireworks that they are shooting off. These are Class B. The reason why I know that, when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s, before I went to work at Republic Steel, I worked for Zambelli Fireworks. I was down at Kings Island where we would shoot fireworks every night, and that was a rough job. But that's what I'm worried about. When they shoot off the salutes, that's a quarter stick of dynamite going up into the air. So if that does not burst and comes down, that's what I'm afraid of. You know, I'm a fireworks lover too. I know 4th of July, you really can't stop the whole city from blowing off fireworks. But it's just the type they're using is concern to me.
I will indicate that we were up there, I believe it was yesterday.
Yes, you were.
We did issue citations.
Yes, you did.
So, and PDR.
Yes, I did hear the call, and I heard the officer say that it was okay per, I forgot who, that they could start issuing citations.
Not that they could start shooting them off.
No.
No, right.
So, I'm just a concerned citizen.
Yeah, people don't understand the power of those fireworks.
Yes.
In my years on the fire department, I've seen people blow off fingers.
Sure, we all have.
Blew our hand off, they got blew the side of his face off. They are serious. Even the little ones can cause damage, especially the little kids. So, it's a concern, and know, like you say, this time of year, try to get around to everybody.
All I could tell you is, when I was young, if we had handheld scanners, we would have blew up Garfield Heights during the 4th of July, because we would have known the movements.
It didn't do that. We were lucky.
Thank you.
Louise Novak, 1252 Broadway. And my concern is what's going on at San Bernardo. I haven't seen any construction go on there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, the owner of the property, the main developer, they terminated their construction manager, construction company.
Really?
Yeah, there were a handful of issues that they were working with. We were trying to work with them. They had contacted us, actually they contacted the building department, and they said, we just want to let you know, we're still moving forward, we're still taking inquiries, but we're going to have about a month delay. We terminated our, I think it was their project manager, something along those lines. So that's why it's been nothing. It'll be that way for about a month, well, probably another two weeks, I'm thinking, and then they're going to start back up. But they were making progress, but unfortunately there were some issues that they...
Do they have any idea when they'll be finished with that project?
The one area I thought they were looking at end of summer, and then the other one end of year. But I'm not sure where that stands as far as with the, but, you know, the delay wasn't because it's not moving forward, it wasn't because of anything, you know, any non-compliance here. They had some internal issues between, so,
Okay.
they were making progress, actually. It was starting to look really
Yeah, I know. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, 134 Harmon Street. Mike, when are they going to start Center Road?
So Center Road, we just spoke about it, it'll most likely be near the end of the month. They're going to be finishing up Maple Heights, and they'll probably be down here about the 3rd week of July, maybe near the end of the month. They'll be coming through.
Okay. And no offense, Don, but I'll save everybody a phone call. You're not going to save any money on a homeowner's policy from a 2 to a 1, so anything can happen. But the traffic light at Forbes and Broadway, the traffic light I'm sorry, Forbes and Northfield. The traffic light on Northfield Road is green. And then the traffic light coming off of Forbes onto Northfield Road is green. And then the traffic light coming out of Acela parking lot is green.
For 2 minutes, you sit there and nothing happens. Okay.
Argue with PD. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're right on in that, buddy. For 2 minutes, nothing happens.
Anyone else?
Frank Spiker, 20 William, Mayor, members of council. We have another problem on our hands in our ward up there in Ward 3. It's called garbage. We're becoming a city dump up there. There's garbage all over the place, on the sidewalks and the roads, everywhere. My concern is that little kids are going to be traipsing down through the sidewalks, whether they're attended or not, and messing around with stuff like that or getting stuff on their clothes or whatever, and there's going to be a major problem at some point. I've noticed bag after bag that I've had to go out and pick up right in front of my property.
Where was that again?
William Street.
William?
And I've noticed it all, when I walk my dog, I notice it from here all the way to Justin Street, all the way over to Henry Street. There's garbage all over the place, and it's becoming a big
I
problem.
hate to tell you, it's the kids that are doing it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, again, that becomes part of that police presence if we could somehow stagger the police to be able to come at different times throughout the day and try to catch that going forward. Because it's really getting nasty. It looks horrible up there. It never has looked like that, and I've lived here 57 years. So that's my suggestion, or just my comments. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And move it back, Ronald Walker, 681 Turning Road.
Can we have quiet, please?
My concern is about the Colony Club Apartments. I recently went in and talked to some of the people that's in there. You know, they changed hands. And they're lowering the age limit of who can, you know, get a lease in there. They lowered it to 18. It used to be 21. That's a real concern. Because, you know, when you get younger people in there, I see it going on now. The music don't start it, and I live right on Turning. I'm catching it. I complain. I do a lot going down there, call the police, you know, because I'm not going to stand and see stuff go down in front of, you know, my eyes. My second complaint is about security. We have a security person. We had a security person. Mr. Mayo, you know who I'm talking about. You know me. Anyway, he had a contract with Colony Club. They want to cancel that and say, we no longer need you. I just seen a notice into my building where they opened up our pool, said, you might as well say, swim at your own risk. We won't have no lifeguard. I mean, it's things like that. Another concern is the people that bought it. They're out of Michigan. And after research, finding out that every property they get goes downhill. And I know in our community, we don't want our property to go downhill, do we? I mean, we got homeowners around there. I know you don't want that happening. And I see what's going on. The Sunoco station that's on campus, that's changing up. I talked to John, who was there for 39 years. He had to move out because they went up on the rent, and now they're gonna move a store, and you know what's gonna happen there. And so it's them concerns and others' concerns, and you try to talk to the people about what their plans are. They don't know, or they be evasive on their answers. And I found out, realized on the back end over by Court Hill, they're letting Section 8 in. Much money's out there, I don't, you know, I don't need that. And so it's a big concern about, is the city knowing what's going on there? Is there anything that you can do or find out about it?
And there's some of the things I talked to Mel a couple of times, and I spoke to our PD about it a couple of times. Some of the stuff I can talk to you about afterwards. I will say, as far as what we can order an owner to do, there's limitations that we have. As far as, you know, one example is the pool. You know, we can't force, you know, I'm not an expert in that law, but we spoke about it, John and our police department. You know, we can't order them to have a guard on duty. It's similar to like a hotel. You know, they can put a sign up, swim at your own risk. There's not a lot, like we can't force them to do that. Do we recommend it? No, we don't. We've shared that with them.
Well, what's going to happen though is this, you know, as far as safety is concerned, you know, we had a safety man, which saved the city to keep the police from coming out. Because Mel, he stayed in contact with the police, and if he needed them, he called them. If he didn't, he took care of it. So that saves the city a lot of money too. You got to realize, so it's got to be something, you know, as you being the city manager, you know, I talked to you last time we had a meeting, but my concern is that I don't like what's going on.
I was unaware of the age.
Yep, I wasn't either until,
This was the first we heard of it tonight.
well, that's what they told me in the office. Well, I said, well, is it gonna change? He said, unfortunately, we don't drop the age limit. Okay, but that's fine. I've got a few more, but that's enough for right now.
Thank you.
Hi,
My name is Melvin Cook. I am the security man. I was. But now, I'm gonna tell you right now, they walk into the
Address, please.
678 Turner Road, apartment 4.
Thank you.
Now, the kids, well, I wouldn't say all kids, grown-ups they walking up and down the street, smoking medical marijuana. I told y'all before, I never heard of it. I never heard of no medical marijuana. You got it? Not me. You know, and also about the speeding, there's a lot of speeding on South Lee, real bad, motorcycles and cars. And the swimming pool he was talking about last Thursday, they had one of the biggest fights over there. They fought all the way out, grown-ups and the kids. All right, didn't know nobody called the police, nobody did anything. All right, number one is the main thing. I broke this up 3 times. That's a prostitution ring of young kids, 13 on up on Cork Hill. I mean, it is bad. I rides out there at night at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I see them, and I see what they're doing. You understand? But what can I do? They tell me they don't need no more security. All right? So, hey, I call the police, they'll come. But after that, that's it. So I wish we can get something done. And I'm glad to see you back.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've known you for too many years, that's not enough. You've brought beautiful things into our city by taking care of our ladies when they get off the bus. You've made that place almost like your own for security. And as far as the age for them to do this, when the company comes in from another state, you can't give them, we can give them guidelines, but you can't tell them what to do.
Yeah, well.
But you know, the same way with kids, anybody, you can't tell people what to do, but we try to do our best to do the right thing. And that's what we do, stick together and do the right thing.
I want to talk to you, sir, and I need the police to talk to you and the chief. That's who I want to talk to. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Marjorie Bryant, and I'll make this simple and quick.
Address, please.
401 Lee Road, South Lee. I'm on the Colony Court Club properties. I enjoyed it up until this point. I noticed already that the landscaping has gone down. I questioned that and wrote a letter and said, what are you doing? Then the new contract, because I'm up for a new leasing, we want you to pay for your own garbage removal and trash pickup and water bill. So I pulled down tenants' rights from Ohio, and I'm looking into the matter to see if that's really a right thing for us to do. I'm a tenant, but I'm not happy about it. So, and I thought I had moved into a good spot. I'm enjoying Bedford, but I'm not liking the new owners. So, thank you.
Yeah, historically, that's been a pretty good place up there over the years.
Yes.
I'm really sad to hear this kind of stuff going on.
It's going down.
Sad.
Yes.
Rick Bacco from South Circle, 57-year resident, Bedford. Yeah, for those who don't know, I drove the senior van for 33 years and I retired. And I just want to tell you what that service is about a little bit, because I don't know if you ever know, but 33 years when I worked there, I came to work every day. I had other duties, mind you, but every day that I came to work, I picked up somebody. That van service was, used every day that I worked. And I don't know if you guys know, but it becomes personable. You got older people, they don't want something that says senior van, whatever, transportation or whatever it is. They want something with Bedford on it. And it becomes personable. who knows who they're gonna get? That's my concern. You know, my mom's might be using that. Pray tell nothing happens to me, because my wife would have to use it. You know, and that's my concern as a resident. Who knows? I might use it one day. And I'm not gonna use that thing, because I know what it's about. I drove people to dialysis every other day. And when we were off on Mondays, I know people told me, oh man, we gotta use RTA, we gotta use this, they stood me up. And have you seen those vans? Have you really looked at those vans? We got nice vans. And what's gonna happen with those? That's what I wanna know. What's gonna happen with, we've had 6 or 7 vans since I worked there. And, people, trying to get the grants and everything else for them. And now they're just, what are you gonna do, sell those or whatever? Those vans got some life on them, because I know when I retired 3 years ago, we just got that one for 1 year. And now we're just gonna throw that away. So, I hope you guys know what you're doing. I'm very upset at this whole thing. And it's not, I'm more upset at being a resident of Bedford. And I lost a lot of respect for everybody that, because it seems like it came back to me, what did I do? I didn't do anything, You guys didn't appreciate it. It's a good thing I retired, because you probably wanted to get rid of me. All right? And it kind of hurts a little bit. It really does. I know I had Paula's husband one time, and Don's parents. I drove a lot of people in that van. So, and like I said, you're throwing that out. People want to see somebody like Armand come and pick them up that they know. Not somebody, how many people are they serving? How many is this senior van connection? How many people are they serving? How many different cities? It's going to affect, right. It's not just one van here, it's going to affect the people here, so. That's all I got to say, sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else? From Orlando?
Evening, Orlando Rosario, 257 Deborah Lane. Paul, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much for helping me out. Didn't mean to cause any friction. I appreciate your help on that, getting that area fixed. I was one of Rick's passengers. And I'm looking at the cards both ways. I'm not saying I'm not, because I am. I see your point, I see Rick's point. Because I'm one to say that, I'm just voicing my opinion. I'm one to say that I've ridden RTA, I've ridden Cleveland Clinic Transportation, still do, ridden UH. There's a whole lot of different ways you gotta look at it. I've never ridden with this new company, but they got their other rules. They only go so far, things like that. There's just a couple of ways you gotta look at it. And, I'm not sticking up for council. I'm helping everybody. I'm just voicing my opinion. It's just, you gotta look at it both ways. That's just the hard part of it. On one hand, you want to do what's right, and then on that hand, if you think you're doing the right thing, then to someone else it could be the wrong thing. So it's just really hard to say, but I just wanted to voice my opinion on it. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sabrina Sanford, 594 Cork Hill Road, Colony Club. Well, I catch the paratransit, and it's $3 to go, because I go to Ahuja Hospital for some of my appointments. It's $3 to go there, and it's $3 to come back, which is a lot of money. And I appreciate the senior van, because I go to UH to a lot of my appointments. And I appreciate all the drivers. And I really have no complaints at all. And I hope that we keep the van and the service. And I have another question. I want to know, what are they going to do about the Sunoco on Lee South and Turney?
It went in front of Planning Commission and then council ultimately approved it. They're going to be reopening it as a gas station. It won't be a service center. Now you can take your car there to get work done. It's not going to be a service center. They're going to, it's going to be a store. You can go in, you can get drinks, things like that, and then a gas station again.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
And I'm sorry, it will remain a Sunoco, for what it's worth.
Kathy Williams, 491 Manson. I would like to thank the police department because Wednesday at 2 in the morning, parties on Lamson decided to throw M80s out their windows, and the police, when I called, which I know that people keep on saying, I hate to call the police, but nothing gets done unless you call dispatch. Now, after they threw the M80s out the windows, the police officer pulled up within 4 minutes and just lit the house up like it was daylight, which was wonderful because they all hit the floor. And we haven't heard anything since. So thank them for me. Second question I have is this transit bus thing. So the man is going to lose his job, but it's a possibility that in 90 days, either or contract could be dissolved, or in 6 months, we can say, nah, this isn't a good fit, which means you're going to have to rehire somebody. Will he get his job back? Wouldn't it be easier if you just put him somewhere in Parks and Recreation, put him in the service department, put him as an inspector? God knows we need more inspectors. Somewhere, find him a place. Because if this, and from hearing, doesn't sound like it's, rainbows and unicorns, if this falls apart, at least you don't have to train somebody and he's still with the city and the man will not lose a job. It's hard. And I just feel that the city is compassionate enough to find a hole for him somewhere. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm definitely going to admit to all of you, and all of you, this is a little bit of a hard subject for me to talk about. But I remember a while back when people were running for council, one in particular, a couple people running for council, they stood by the fact that we need to hire more people of color in this community. And I totally agree with that. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I know we do have one African-American gentleman on our police force, 2 on the police force. Okay, those jobs are filled by civil service. And correct me if I'm wrong, Armand, is he the only other employee in the city of color?
As far as
Full-time?
As far as full-time, I mean, I'm not talking about your part-time kids that come in the city during the summer,
Yeah.
but I mean full-time, either that are working in City Hall, the rec department, service department. Is he the only black man
In ASME, correct, yes.
in ASME? Okay. And now, he's gonna be the one to probably lose a job. I think that's a little black mark on our city. I really do. I think I would like to see everything that the city can possibly do to keep that man. Whether, you know, you get rid of the transportation and go with senior connections or not, there's gotta be a place, someplace for him in the city. There's like 4 people working in the rec department in the office. 2. No, there's more than 2.
We got,
Well, if you're counting part-time, I don't know, again, right?
Well, anyways,
they're not,
I just,
they're full-time people.
I think we're missing the boat here. I mean, we claim that we're a very diverse community.
Seriously.
And seriously, is that true? No, not in my opinion. Not when we have all these jobs within the city and our city can't keep the one man of color. You know, I just hope everybody thinks about it.
Well, we have thought long and hard. We didn't just decide one day, oh, let's just do this, get rid of them.
I understand that.
Race has no issue in this at all.
Well,
Number one, it does not. I won't put up with that kind of talk that it's a
well,
race.
Stan,
It's
face the
not.
facts.
So the fact is, he's the driver. I don't care if it would have been Rick was the driver. It would have been him at the time.
But this man happens to be a man of color. And unfortunately, the council person who said this when she was campaigning, and I have respect for every one of these people that sit here, and I know this is not an easy job. She was the one, I wish she were here tonight. She said, we've got to do more about hiring people of color in our city. And I realize you put a lot of thought into this and you didn't do it arbitrarily, but I'm just saying, think about it before, I don't know, the news media gets a hold of something like this, what's gonna happen? Do we need a black mark on our city? I don't think so. And no, we're not diverse at all.
Good evening, Jay Watson, 40 Berwyn. I was not considering coming to the meeting tonight, but I'm happy I'm here. There's been some things that surprised me happily. Her opinion about we're not diverse, I'm with you on that. We got a ways to go. We're not a bad city, but we got a ways to go. And there's a lot of people that I feel in city administration that just don't get it. They refuse to get it. It's like, hey, this is how we've been doing it. We're going to keep on doing it. And pardon me, Mayor, I don't think anyone was accused you of being racist. I don't think you should have said, hey, we're not racist. But it makes me wonder, if you got to come back and hit her with that, something's wrong here. She's just making a fact, and it's a fact. We got some problems here in Bedford. We got a problem in that our school system is failing, and no one wants to address it. You're not going to get banks or companies to move to Bedford if you don't have a good school system. But yet, I don't hear anyone in administration who wants to really talk about it. What I hear, oh, that's the school. We don't want to talk about it here. But we'll be partnership on some other issues that we feel comfortable on. But if it's an issue, then maybe talking about it, black, or why we got low rating schools, you guys don't want to talk about it. No, I'm sorry. It ain't happening, because I tell you what, it would be better. If it was really being done, it would be better. But the same things over and over again. This gentleman back here talking about his community going down. I applaud him. But you know what? That's no new news. That's not new news. That's old news. I mean, this community had a Sam's Club, had a Walmart, had a Target, had a whole bunch of wonderful stores that a lot of communities would have been begging for. We can't keep them. And we won't face the fact that's why we can't keep them. But we'll put in some of these little other stores over here, some other stores over here, and then we're going to come up to you and say, you know what? It ain't the good business. You're going to be coming with the same old answer this woman said about, hey, the swimming pool or the rent. We can't control that. I'm being honest, I'm fed up with the council saying it's just out of our control. I don't see the council trying to get the quality people in here. We're losing quality citizens. The people who are moving in this community are, yes, a lot of black minorities. A lot of them want to be renters, which means they don't feel ownership or stake in this community. Yes, we got a lot of kids doing stuff. I mean, you walk out of Bedford High School and you follow that trail, you're going to find all kinds of stuff all over the road. I mean, you had a policeman there when the school's let out. You'll see who's dropping all that crap in people's yards. It wouldn't be easy. I live on Berwyn. They zip through my neighborhood. I mean, they forget about that stop sign. There used to be a traffic light at Berkshire. Yeah, there used to be a traffic light there at Berkshire. Hey, they move them. I used to see police officers. I don't see them. This is a community that is aging. You're not bringing in a whole lot of young people. It is aging. There's no way to get around it. The data proves it. It is an aging community. And I don't see this community doing what should be the best for the community. It's just like business as usual. And that woman should not have to come up here and talk about, hey, we need to be more diversified with people of color. I said it many times. And I get this solidarity. Well, we know we've got this application. We have this program. You know what? If you're progressive, you go the extra step to show that you are progressive versus keep doing the same thing over and over again. And it's not working, folks. It's not working. Particularly, like I said, I feel for this man back here saying, listen, I'm a homeowner. I've got a whole bunch of things going on that it seems like it's taking my home value down. And I didn't hear anything out of council at this point saying, oh, we're going to get on that because we can't tolerate that. It's just like, thank you for coming up here. Tell me about your concerns. You're going to have to fend for yourself. This city is not going to give you resources to fend for yourself. They'll be back again with the same kind of concerns. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Leslie Watson, 681 Turney, apartment 124. My concern, I just want to elaborate on what Mr. Walker said about the pool situation. The kids that's coming in the pool, none of them, half of them don't live in Bedford. These are the kids coming from Cleveland. And guess what? A lot of them, have you seen the situation with the dirt bikes in Cleveland? They're starting to come over here at the pool on the dirt bikes. You have no security, you have no lifeguard, so there's no way you're going to stop them. So my concern is, I know you're saying that's a private, call the police, but once it gets started, you ain't going to be able to stop them. Look at Cleveland and them dirt bikes. I've seen them. I can see the pool from my apartment. I watch them, and they come in more and more every day. If they know there's no security and they know there's no lifeguard, they're coming. I'd rather see the pool be shut down.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
But it says that first we've heard those concerns and about the new company taking over. And that's terrible that they're going to do that. Mr. Watson, you leaving?
I didn't know there was anything else you said.
I was talking.
Pardon me for being disrespectful, Mayor.
Because, and we've addressed this before about our hiring practices, we've gone out of our way to try to hire minorities, and we are constantly doing it. Since I was on the fire department, 30 years ago, we tried back then to do. We went to, back then, we could only advertise at the Call and Post, that was the paper for the minority. We advertised there, we personally went there, and in my years there, we had one minority applicant. We tried, we go to schools, we go to the colleges, the police department visits colleges, trying to recruit people to come and take them. I've gone to the hospital where I've known the physical therapy people who would have been qualified physically to do the demands of police or fire. We went there to recruit them personally. They wouldn't even come take the test. It's not that we haven't tried, and we've tried things. As far as the apartment, this is just appalling that they would take and lower the quality to go down to an 18-year-old there. First we heard of it tonight, so don't blame us for not helping this gentleman, because we just heard about it.
That was not his only concern, though.
I know, I've heard that, and about the pool, we've heard that before. And now we just find out that you've been terminated as security there. That's concerning for us. And we are concerned about that. And we are trying to be more diversified. One of the problems, I don't want to say a problem, people get a job with the city, they're here for a long time. We're not going to fire people just so we can hire minorities. We're not going to lower our standards so we can hire minorities, because you wouldn't like that.
You're right, I wouldn't.
Well, you would be, and you'd be right to be appalled if we tried to lower standards just to fill spaces to get them. We go out of our way to try to find people, and we've been doing it. And the issue with the driver, I like Armand, and that was been a consideration of this talks from the very beginning on what to do. There's been some suggested solutions that hasn't happened. It's not from lack of trying. And I think this council is about as colorblind as you can get, because we don't care who we are. We're gonna, number one, enforce our laws one way that whoever does them, that's who does them. We're gonna enforce that. We're gonna go out and look for people to fill these more minorities, more women. We just want to get the best people for our citizens. And we're not going to compromise on that. And I think the quality of our fire department you've seen here tonight, to do the accomplishment they did, is amazing. And it's done because our Civil Service Board has done a good job of giving us excellent candidates that we can hire, interview and hire. We've tried that. Mike and I have worked with Tri-C to try to establish a program for minorities and basically anyway on how to take civil service tests. Not to give them the test, that would be wrong. But how to take, what to expect when you get there. We were setting that up with Tri-C, with Frank Jackson's brother was the head of the program. He left the college and it fell apart. We've been trying that. We're gotta find somebody else that'll step up and help us out. We've been doing this stuff. We are doing this if we want to do this stuff. And when we get qualified people, we hire them. And that's what we're gonna continue to do. And if we can get a minority, that's what we're gonna take, as long as they're qualified. Because like I said, if we dropped our standards, you would be insulted, and rightly so. Because we want what's best, and I can tell you all our workers are the best we got, and they all do a great job.
Mayor?
Real quick on civil service. I will say the quality of the minorities and overall are getting better and better. That's why you're seeing that come through on police, because of the quality of the people, their experience, what they've done, and they're top-notch people. So you're going to see more and more of that. But it took time, and it took this time to get people educated to the levels where they can be hired. And they're doing very well. And overall, you're seeing a very, very good qualified group out there in the last few years. So we took our time. We made great decisions on the hiring process the department did, and kudos to them. And you're going to see more and more of that probably as we go forward with any other hirings when they come open. Right now, there aren't any other positions open. Well, one that's open right now. That's it. I mean, the city does not change over. Our court system does have a lot of minorities, and I will add that. There is quite a few in there, which is great. They're qualified, they're doing a great job, and that's how it should be. And that's for any position.
And one of the problems with the hiring minorities is us looking for quality. We're also fighting with Sherwin-Williams, with IBM, with all the national companies that are looking for these same qualified individuals for their jobs. And unfortunately, as you've seen over the years, the applicants for these police and fire jobs have kept going down. One of the reasons is these phones. You go out there to do something, and you got a phone in your face when you're doing your job. How many of you would want to have somebody sitting next to you while you're doing your job, photographing every little thing you spelled that word wrong? How many would want to do that? So people, these jobs aren't as attractive anymore as they were. The benefits are great, and we are out there trying to do this. All the time we're trying. And when we can, we do. The last 2 hires in the police department were minorities. Great guys. And they were hired because they were good, qualified candidates. The same as the 2 white guys that we hired that were good, qualified candidates. And we're going to keep hiring good, qualified candidates. Paula?
Okay, this is not, hiring of any person is, like, it's a best qualified to do the job. That is not my issue right now. My issue is my Colony Club people. We were aware, and I did make our city manager aware, and Mel knows it too, that when the gas station went down, the former owner of it was actually leasing it from the Sunoco people in Atlanta, Georgia. Brought that to the city manager's address, to his desk as soon as I found out. The lady that ran it just couldn't run that gas station anymore. She just was not a manager. So therefore, the company that was leasing to her put it up. They closed her up, and now they're starting to make another station. So we will have a gas station, which is good because we need something in our area. As far as the pool goes and the rules from this new company that bought over Colony Clubs, yes, I'm not pushing it off on somebody else. I am working with Mel and a couple other nice people. All the people are nice that I dealt with at Colony Club, not in their office, to do the right thing for their renters. The kids that have the privilege of using that pool, got the bikes there, they're inviting their own friends up there because you know why? Like you say, nobody cares about that. If the management doesn't care about that, then like you said, shut them down. If it takes the city to go down there and tell them that, because we've had all your interests addressed tonight, we're going to try to work it out to do the right thing for our good citizens that do put their money in as a taxpayer to our city, whether you own your townhouse or you're renting there. Everybody's got to be treated fairly, and we're going to hope to do it. Yes, Shirley?
Sorry, one more thing. Before the new owners took over, we didn't have dogs there. Now we have dogs, and there is a pit bull on that premises.
Well, the only way we can take care of that pit bull is if he was to bite somebody, and that's where you have to get involved by calling 911, not 911, but calling our non-emergency line and getting that addressed right at that instant.
Okay.
And if it's on a leash, he's got that down, and that dog is on a leash, but he doesn't, right now we don't have that clause where it has to be muzzled when they're walking. But it's got to be leashed, and they have to clean up after their dog. And I don't want to keep anybody any longer, but thank you for all your interest. We do care, and it seems that we have to work things out, but it might be at a slower pace. I respect you, sir. I've known you for a long time. Same with Mel and everybody else that I know here. Rick,
I've got a comment.
indispensable.
I believe everyone on the council are good people. You may have inherited something that's very hard to overcome. What Bedford is today is not due to what you have done in a short period of time. Bedford has a long history of some of these problems. First of all, okay, so let me clarify here. So just because you're the council today doesn't mean that the council people many years ago failed to do the right thing, okay? Now, when I hear someone saying it's hard to find qualified black people, That offends me, because I see qualified black people being hired at Solon, Beechwood, other communities. They can find qualified black people, you know, to be on their police force and fire department. But it could be that maybe there's something, like I said, about this town that qualified black people said, I don't want anything to do with it. It is not the town I want to represent. And when you're talking about a cell phone, I'm happy they got cell phones. But I haven't seen too many in my culture being abused by police officers or the wrong people. If it wasn't for that cell phone to prove that they actually are doing something wrong, they wouldn't believe it. You would have gone to a council meeting and say, listen, I was abused. And you said, well, my police officer said you didn't abuse. Well, I got a cell phone that says you're abused. So yeah, you know what? Have that cell phone. It's there because there has been proof that people weren't doing their job. So the cell phone proves, yes, I'm showing that your police department or whoever you have is not doing as you say. Now if that causes you to be upset about someone saying, I got a phone over here showing what you're doing, hey, fine, maybe that's not the job for you. Because I believe there's a lot of police officers that should not be police officers. And the thing is, maybe there should be more effort to get rid of them. But you find a lot of these guys who are found to do wrong, they still got their jobs. And they keep on doing it over and over again. Then when you go to a council or to a mayor, you say, when are you going to do something about it? You know what? That's when I walk out the door. I say, you know what? It's business as usual.
We haven't had that issue. So.
But you have issues.
Can I say something? Can I say something? You know, now, I worked at Ford Motor Company for 35 years. I retired. I used to have an issue when I lived out in University Heights. Every time that I came home from work, the police would pull me over. And I kept saying, I haven't did anything. So I really found out because I drove a Cadillac, because I had a Cadillac. They kept pulling me over. I did not know that the mayor lived on my street when I watched 3814 Washington Boulevard. So what happened, I got up that morning, I went down and I told the mayor, every night when I come home around 1, 2 o'clock, I got stopped. You know what she told me? Be there in the morning at her house. She lived on the corner. He said, I want to talk to you. I went in there. She straightened it out. I never had no more problems. But you know something? You know what really pisses me off? All these older people, they are the ones that keep this stuff going between the black, the white. There's no black. There's no white. We all human beings. You understand? We all human beings. And we got to learn to grow up. You understand? Grow up. You understand? Hug him. You see this man right here. Hug him. Listen. You understand? I mean, he's nothing wrong with this man because he's white and I'm black. You understand? Let's do it. Let's start doing things together. You understand? I see out there at the, well, they have all the little parties and things. Let's everybody get together. Shake hands. Love each other. Okay? Let's do it. All right, Mayor, it's up to you now.
And that's why we need security at that council.
I hope I can get it back.
Anyone else? Since we got kind of an open forum. Motion for adjournment. Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Spinks?
Yes.
Cochi?
Yes.
Mezak?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brown out.
Thank you all for coming.